Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brothers and Booze. I am Doug Ziegler with my esteemed partner.
You stole that line from me, by the way.
I know I'm pointing the right way this time, too.
Okay.
Patty Porter with us. So,
All right.
What you got going, Greg? Let's start with the beer, and then we'll talk about our guest a bit.
You could probably guess the brewery.
I'm going to guess it's Ale Asylum.
Ale Asylum, yes. Sticky McDougal. I don't think I had this one on the show, and I'm pretty damn sure you have, right? You've had this.
Yeah,
one.
I brought it on the show because you gave it to me when you came here.
Yeah, my Mr. Rogers screen here. I'm pleading for everybody to be more like Mr. Rogers this show. It's my theme. Yep. So, Sticky McDougal, Scotch Ale, right. Looking the part here. Look at this clean glass.
War, baby.
Clean glass too, Doug Ziegler.
Clean glass. Oh, you're gonna be.
This one wasn't clean though, and I found out right like 2 minutes before we got on the show. Yeah, it's looking all rich and malty and all that wonderful good stuff.
All right, so in honor of our guest, who is a giant Joy Division fan, I am having a Troy Division from Rare Form in New York. It's an IPA.
Okay, and inform the people who don't know what Joy Division is. What Joy Division?
Joy Division is a band from the '80s that was kind of. Boy, I'm going to get this wrong, and Renee's going to jump all over me about it.
He's already laughing.
Not really new wave. I will let her do the whole Joy Division thing because she's an expert. I am not. But I saw that when I knew she was on, I saw this beer, and I was like, I have to get this. I actually have 2 IPAs for this show today. So, yeah, how about that?
I don't even know you anymore.
Flipping the script, Greg. Flipping the script.
I don't even know you anymore.
You got that nice. Man, it almost looks hazy. The hop is not very present. Like it's a little hoppy, but it's not like overly so. Ooh, that's really super crisp. That's really lovely. One I actually like.
Wow. So before
that's not a milkshake or a hazy or a Northeastern IPA. It's an actual regular IPA. Kudos from Rare Form out of New York.
Nice. So I saw I saw a dumb meme I have to say, since you said milkshake, I have to share with everybody, which was the CDC guidelines say that you can only bring 8 boys to your only 8 boys can be attracted to your yard by a milkshake. I didn't deliver that well. So this is what I will deliver well. Fred, in honor of my background, I want everybody to be kind to everybody. This is Mr. Rogers' neighborhood this week, and real strength has to do with helping others, he said.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an excellent quote, and it really is, considering all we're doing here and everything that's going on. I think that's a lovely quote to put on, man.
All right. And actually, look, we have somebody that's already excited for the show.
Ah, that's good. Well, without further ado, we should really bring on our guest. They're probably excited for the guest, not us. So,
well, of course.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. They're being nice. We got it.
Yeah, very good. So, tonight's guest, I was really happy we were able to get her to come on. It's a Renee Asher pickup. She's a veteran, an activist, a writer, an editor, and I've talked to her on and off for a couple years. She's always a really super interesting person to talk to and see what she has going on. So let's bring her on.
Cool. Excellent. Boom.
Hi. And that was my cousin. So
yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, great. That's great. We want people to engage. It doesn't matter who it is,
Yeah.
And he's ready to hear about Joy Division.
Yeah. I think he already knows about Joy Division. So actually, calling him an 80s band is weird because the lead singer died in 1982, but then nobody knew who they were until after he died. So what are you going to do? So they were what's considered post-punk, which was actually happening at the same time as a lot of punk, but it's just, the way to describe the sound. And I kind of joke, I love them. Like I have a tattoo of their lyrics right here. Like I love them, but the reality is he's like the guy who invented deep voice guys singing about how sad they are. Like that's what Ian Curtis did. But he did it really well. So
So he's pre-Morrissey before Morrissey.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he was like 22 when he died, and so it's kind of actually really amazing that I can't. How many 22-year-old men do you know that have insight into anything, right? But he actually really talked about mental health and emotions and things in a way that's still profound. So
yeah, that was back in the early 80s when people didn't really talk about that stuff. So
but yeah, I mean, he killed himself, and everyone in the band was like, we didn't know he was upset because nobody talked about their feelings. We thought he was just making it up for the songs. So but yeah, so it's one of those things. It was like actually really kind of revolutionary. And he died right before they were supposed to go on a US tour, before they were supposed to blow up. If you're familiar with New Order was just Joy Division without Ian Curtis. They kind of were forced to go on by the record company and become super fucking popular, where I still love Joy Division more.
Cool.
Yeah, and they became very poppy when they became New Order. New Order?
It's fun. Look, like I like dark
stuff, so yeah.
Super poppy because it's like this wild juxtaposition where you get to like commiserate and feel really sad, but you also kind of get to dance.
So what's in the glass, Renee? What's in the glass, Renee?
Yeah, what are you drinking?
I've been saving this. Like this moved house with me, and I'm not familiar with this brewery at all. It is a bourbon barrel quad, and it's a really big bottle, and that's why I've been saving it, because you have to drink the whole bottle because it doesn't keep very well. So I've got that poured here. You can see it's like real.
You poured a giant mug of it.
Yeah, I fit almost the whole bottle into this mug. My husband actually won this at Oktoberfest several years ago, so it felt appropriate. And it almost the whole bottle. I had to top up.
At the real Oktoberfest?
No,
or at an
Oktoberfest. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I had to make sure.
Wow, they had that over there. I was not aware of that. I was figuring it's all German beers.
The community out here does all kinds of cool shit, which is why I'm really glad to be back. I was out of Joshua Tree for over 5 years, and I got back just in time for everything to shut down and not be able to enjoy the community. So that's fun.
Well, yeah. So with part of the reason I want to have you on is because we normally are very we have brewers, we have people who are cicerones and like
dad bloggers.
What's that?
Dad bloggers.
You know, we have a lot of we have a lot of kind of people who are in the sphere of beer, if you want to say that way. So, but I think it's if you want to truly be diverse, you have to diversify also who you talk to that isn't just in the beer sphere. So, you know, having you who's an author and an editor and done a myriad of things, you've been in the military, your life is really, really super interesting, and part of the reason I wanted to have you on was so that we could just talk about all these different experiences you've had.
Yeah, for sure.
So, if you could tell us, Greg and I usually start off talking about what got you into craft beer?
Okay.
Is it something that I know we were talking in pre-production about how the beer consumption has kind of gone down as we age a little bit because it's a little harder to recover from all the calories and all that stuff. But when did you notice you started to like beer that wasn't your sort of mainstream beer?
So, you know, it's actually really funny. I think the first time I had a craft beer was when I lived in DC and I had a Magic Hat 9, which just blew my mind. And then I was really poor, so I was not buying a lot of expensive beer at that time. And I think, in the military, a lot of the barbecues and stuff is just a lot of cheap crap. And I didn't like beer, basically. And I don't really remember what the catalyst was, but when I first moved to Joshua Tree, I was hosting a podcast that also was about books and booze, which I guess we're kind of doing tonight, which is fun.
Yeah.
I got into this, I wanted to drink something different every night. I didn't want to, or not every night, every week. I didn't want to just be like, yep, I'm having another whiskey and Coke. So that's kind of when I got into it. And the guy, as I mentioned in the pre-show, the guy who runs the store that sells beer here is really into craft beer, and he could get you anything from anywhere So I started really playing with it and having fun. And I got really into it for a while, but like you said, I weigh a lot more than I did when I was in the Marines, and I work out a lot less. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to just do some nice tonic water and some whiskey and call that good. And my husband's a fantastic bartender. Like, he makes his own tonic. He makes all kinds of simple syrups, and we have a really good time buying expensive whiskey. And he loves gin. I used to hate gin, but it turns out the more money you spend on it, the better it is. So I went from very rarely drinking at all to I'm still a lightweight. I have like one drink if I want to be coherent. But now I'm into it all. I love it. So
Renee, you mentioned you mentioned tonic did you say tonic water?
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads me to ask you the seltzer question. Are you into them?
Like the hard seltzers?
Yeah. The ones that you see at the breweries now. Have you seen any at the local breweries and stuff?
I'll say this. What I do like is the canned wine spritzers.
Okay.
I don't really like the seltzers. I feel like I drink seltzer water to make myself drink water because I live in the desert. I don't drink because I love it. You know what I mean? So with the pre-made spritzers, like, I am too lazy to make my own white wine spritzer. Like, whatever. There's not a payoff. But you get the little 4-packs of the wine spritzers, and it's like, oh, this is nice. It's not going to make me feel like because it gets to like 120 here. So you got to have some lightness to your alcohol intake.
No.
Yeah, that's not like hot here is like 90, so like that's way above.
Yeah, it was 82 at midnight last night when I went to bed. So
that is like, it's been hot here that we've actually put air conditioner in because I deal for shit with heat. So like, I don't know how you're like 120 and I'm like, oh God, I would be a puddle laying on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, it took a long time to acclimate, but once I did, it's like, it's a dry heat. It actually makes a difference because when I lived away and it was actually humid during the summer, I was like, I would rather it be 10, 15 degrees hotter and not have this humidity in the air because it's ridiculous. So
yeah, that's how it's been here with the past. So, I mean, you may have seen, like, Jill and I have been doing like these garden projects outside, and it has been just 90 and like 90% humidity. And the humidity is what kills me. Like, I walk outside and I'm just wearing sweat. It's not fun.
And you may have noticed all my gardening projects are container gardening inside my house.
Yeah, she had this picture of this tomato plant that looks like Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors. It's like ginormous. It
came to me like this big, and now it is like, I guess I didn't know tomato trees were a thing, but I have a tomato tree right now.
Pretty much. So yeah. So I have a question regarding the gin thing with your husband. Yes, you're right. Once you buy more expensive gin, it does get much better. Like, if you buy the Beefeater stuff, that stuff you're not going to get great flavor out of that. It's made to mix with stuff. What is a gin that you and your husband really like?
So Hendrick's Gin has been doing these special editions. There's a Midsummer, and I think one is called Orbium. And there's another one that I'm forgetting the name of because gin is just it's not my jam. But they're really floral and very like curated, I guess. And then when you mix it with a good tonic like Fever Tree, or especially the elderflower Fever Tree, because my opinion of a gin and tonic, regular gin, regular tonic, is they bring out the worst in each other for my flavor palette. Where these Hendrick's special editions like Midsummer and Orbium with a Fever Tree tonic, there's the elderflower or just the plain, they bring out the best in each other. And it's this really light, beautiful, nice drink for summertime rather than like just like tree sap. Like, that's why I love whiskey. I don't like scotch. I don't do tree sap. Not juniper tree sap, not anything else.
Wow. So now we've had the anti-scotch lady on. We've had the anti-porter lady on. So now it's good. Now we're equal, Doug.
Yeah, we might have to have some words about scotch, but that's okay.
Yeah.
here's the thing: I've had very expensive scotch, and I still don't like scotch. So
this is not your thing.
for me, yeah.
Is it Renee? Is it the smokiness?
No, I don't mind smoke. It's just something. I think it's the peat that really just it hits me. I don't know if that's like I have special super tasters for that or what. I love rye.
Likely.
I love
Likely.
bourbon, I love Irish whiskey, and then I hit scotch, and there's just something that doesn't go down quite right for me.
I've learned in my beer studies that women are more likely to be super tasters than men. So
Yeah, I feel like I have a really good sense of taste and smell, even when I'm smoking. And I know when you smoke, it's supposed to go down.
yeah.
So, well, I don't know.
Apparently not, right?
That's cool. Doug?
Yeah. So, Jen, I would suggest that you and your husband have tried is called The Botanist. You ever had that?
Bottle. Yeah.
That stuff is phenomenal, and it's not juniper-y, it's not piney, it's an Islay.
I think I've had the Botanist with just regular Fever Tree tonic and been really impressed with it. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And that one's like here it's like I think like $30 or $32 a bottle, which
yeah. So we've been ordering the Hendrix online because especially like the Midsummer is really hard to find. So I bought that as like a surprise. But I don't remember where my husband picked up the Botanist, and it was kind of like an impulse buy. And we brought it home and we were really excited about it. So
yeah, it's a good one. Sorry, Greg, for the diversion into gin there.
No worries. I thought I had a comment. Oh yeah, here we go. I have a comment I want to show. Tony loves, I believe, Renee's shirt is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
we're all wearing really cool t-shirts though. So,
Good t-shirt night.
I'm repping the Minneapolis area here with the Dangerous Man. Doug, what you got?
Oh, I have a Sell Your Soul shirt. So yeah, it's
kind of appropriate for today's, you know.
yeah.
Well, there's like a series of those. So it's like I just got that. My youngest son's like, I really love those shirts, so I gotta get him one, I guess.
I love all of the ones from that series, and I'm gonna like this might be my push to actually finally buy one. This shirt's actually from a woman on Etsy called Lady Moonco, and I bought it from her at an Oddities Expo. Immediately lost it in my move, and she stopped making t-shirts. So I was heartbroken, and then like a week ago I found it in a random box in the garage. I think I've worn it like 4 times since.
I remember seeing you post that you found it, and you were so happy that you had found that shirt after you posted.
Super comfortable too. Like, you know, sometimes novelty t-shirts, they just stick it on like the cheapest shirt they can find. This one's like soft, and I love this shirt.
and so does my friend Tony. So there you go.
Yeah. Hey, Greg,
right.
do you have a second beer going yet or no?
Yeah, actually, thanks for asking. I am doing so I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, but I'm doing a Scaredy Cat, which is it's an oatmeal stout from Vintage Brewing Company here in Madison. They won, not only did they win the best brew pub in America, the largest one, this is also award-winning oatmeal stout. It's fantastic. Look how black as night. Not that much of a head.
Art.
Sweet.
I like to say
roasty.
you to see through Gatorade, and you shouldn't be able to see through your beer.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like hazy Gatorade, and I don't like clear beer.
Oh.
Yeah, so that means like
Renee, where are you out of again? Renee, where are you out of again?
Joshua Tree, California.
Where's that exactly?
Right smack in the middle of the Mojave Desert, further south than anyone who hasn't been to Joshua Tree has probably ever gone.
Gotcha. My friend Tony says Joshua Tree so jealous he shoots stars.
Yeah, no, Joshua Tree. So Joshua Tree, when we moved here, was a pretty big tourist destination for like a specific type of person who wanted to go rock climbing or eat mushrooms. Mostly, and there's like a really cool history of Graham Parsons and like guys from the Rolling Stones staying at a hotel that's actually just down the street from me. There's this crazy story where Graham Parsons, he wanted his body cremated in the park, and that's illegal. And his family, put him in a casket and was shipping him back home. And his buddies stole the casket from LAX, drove it out to Cap Rock, which is a major tourist attraction, and burnt his fucking body in the middle of the park to respect his wishes. So there's like a lot of really crazy celebrity folklore out here.
Wow.
And then in recent years, this is a town of 7,000 people with a national park, right? We used to get 1 million tourists a year when I lived here before. I just moved back. We're up to 3 million tourists a year. So it is a while. I'm lucky to be tucked away a little bit. So I can just stay home on the weekend and not worry about it if I want to.
The reason I asked, when we're able to move about and in a way that everybody feels safe and it's cool, Doug and I need to get out there because I want to test this. Hold on, Renee. I just want to test this. I don't like beer I can see through. I want to test that. More than any
beer we can bring that would.
Yeah. Okay. We can do a little brew crawl. We can work it out. We'll talk about it. Because I really have to do California too as a whole. I really haven't. I've done San Diego, but I haven't really done anything else. So I got a question for you that's going to be completely off of what we just talked about. But I want to talk about your website and your background as far as so one of the things that drew, I don't know if the word is drew. One of the things that maybe it's attracts, but one of the things that attracts me to my friend Doug is his ability to write. And I think sometimes when as a person you don't feel that you add up in a way when you are with someone who, or you're friends with someone who does that. So I started off my little stories. I started off as a blogger, but I just couldn't really sit down and write things and then feel really confident in pressing that publish. I started my blog and I still have probably 14 or 15 unpublished things that I've written that just didn't add up for me. It just wasn't enough. So I love Doug because A, he's a good writer, and B, he puts himself out there. He does it all the time. And I just see that as something inspirational. Doug sees it as meh. So it's cool.
I do not. Let me just clarify that. It's just I am shitty at taking compliments.
Oh. Well, no. And what I mean by meh, I just mean that Doug doesn't, in my opinion, sometimes he doesn't value himself. He probably doesn't value his ability to write as much as I do. How about that? I'm like, damn, Doug's the shit, and Doug's like, yeah, I'm cool, but dude, there's so many other people that are we've had this conversation a gazillion times, so you can probably tell. Everybody can probably tell. So about you being an author, was that something? See, I never, I tried to put myself to be an author. I never really felt it to be real, and I never really owned it. Maybe that's part of my problem. Is this something that you knew, because me and Doug had talked about this, is this something that you knew since you were really young, or is it something that you grew into as grow and you find yourself?
I always wrote, and I had a lot of encouragement. I think I hear from a lot of people who love to write and got the opposite of encouragement, and they don't write. I got a lot of encouragement from a really early age, and I really loved it. Now, I kind of always thought, I've got to have a backup plan. I've got to, go to college for something else. And, I dropped out of college, and I joined the Marines. And then I didn't write while I was in the Marines because, you're kind of busy in the Marine Corps, as it turns out. So, yeah, I always wanted to write, and I always was writing. But to what you were saying, I still feel that way. I only have one novel published, and it was actually co-written with someone else. Mostly what I have out is short stories. And, by the metric of success of the average person who wants to write, I have a medium, maybe even large by some standards, set of people who know who I am and like what I write. I'm never out of work as far as editing or doing some kind of content writing. As far as a job that you might as well say you want to be an actor to like make a living at or do as your main job, because it is my main job. I'm pretty successful, but I never feel like I'm successful. I always feel like, well, yeah, like you said, like Doug says, well, sure, like you like what I write, but I've got friends who tell me they started writing the genre I write because of my work, and they've got 5 fucking novels out, and I've got 1 that I co-wrote. So, I saw Chuck Palahniuk give a talk several years ago at a film festival, and they said, "When did you know that you made it?" And he said, "I'll let you know when I find out." And he was getting a freaking major award from a film festival for being such a successful author. So I kind of keep that in mind, where it's like the metric for success just changes every time you accomplish something, and that's how it is always going to be. So
cheers to that. I like that.
Yeah, I'll drink.
I'll drink to that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I just opened this just so you, well, I should put my glass on because I can't read shit unless I have them on. So. 50-year-old eyes, man. So this is called Hawaiian Lion.
Ooh.
The coconut coffee porter out of Florida. I had a friend of mine send me some beers from Florida. Kind of cool. I don't know if you can really see the lion because my lighting sucks.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, it's not overt, but it's really nice little artwork. And Renee, I don't know if you feel this way. I talk a lot about labels on cans and bottles, that if you are going to invest your time in the artwork, and you're going to invest your time in the beer. So if you have a good label or something like that, to me, that seems like, oh, well, then it's almost like if you see a book and you go, oh, the artwork on that is fucking awesome. I'm going to pick that up because that looks great. It's the same way with beer for me.
I agree. And I do that with wine too. I don't know shit about wine, right? Like I just buy what I know that I like. But I do that too with wine. And I think part of that comes from, like, if you're a creative person, I'm sure people who do visual art feel this like 10 times as much. But for me, like, if I'm going to bust my ass to write something and they're going to stick some shitty artwork on it, I'm going to be pretty upset about it. Right. And one of the coolest moments ever, and I wish that I had actually unpacked my office sometime in the year that I've lived here, but I haven't yet, was the first time I saw somebody make art to go with the story I wrote. And it knocked me on my ass because it was such a cool feeling. And I feel like, if you're investing in a brewery, a winery, whatever it may be, why would you let what the first impression people are going to have of what you're making be boring or just look like another Budweiser can or whatever? The really cool artwork, I think, is part of what makes independent and craft brewing so cool, because there's a genuine love for everything you're doing and a genuine desire to make what you are doing worth it. So like you said, why would you waste your time on a shitty label if you've put years of love, blood, sweat, and tears into making a beer and getting it on the shelf?
Here. See, I got a partner in crime on that one, because I was like, every time I see, and I know shit about wine either. My wife likes wine, but I know what she likes. But there's certain labels that you just go, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the one called The Prisoner.
I don't know.
And it's a series of these like really super nifty. It's art that they just put on a label on a bottle. It's literally art. But the bottles are all like $40 a bottle. They're not cheap because the wine is excellent, but the art is excellent. And it's just like sometimes
I feel like some of my wine bottles, and I don't drink a ton of wine except for this. Target has this brand called California Roots, and all of the California Roots wines are $5 a bottle, and the rosé is really fucking good. So I've, like, every time I go down the hill to Palm Springs, I buy like 4 or 5 bottles of this super cheap wine. The label's fine; it's not pretty, but when I actually buy like a cool bottle of wine, I feel like maybe I need to put some Mod Podge on that and like use it as a bud base, or like honor that.
Mod Podge. Jill does that all the time with shit, so I know all about that stuff. But yeah.
All right, So this is funny because you're showing this comment. I was thinking that in the back of my mind when we were talking about it, because you can substitute razzle dazzle for quality, and that's always a risk. But nice when you get both.
Right, but look, he agrees with you. He said, but it's a bonus when content's matched to content.
There you go.
But I also, too, going back to this real quick, because I know Doug probably agrees with me when I say that it's not that it guarantees it, but I think Doug believes that it's more likely. Am I right, Doug?
That's exactly right. It's not, as Tony just mentioned, sometimes you get something and you'll get this like super cool bottle and it's got this really nifty artwork, or they etched something cool in the bottle or whatever, and you're just like, man, that looks awesome. And you open it, it's just kind of like, okay, well, that sucked. Why?
Right, or it was just fine.
Yeah, or it's just, okay, yeah, the label's great, but I'm not getting that again.
And Facebook user, sorry, name's not showing, but that's also true. And this is like, I'm going to relate it back to writing. Right. I know if you have a shitty book cover, you're not selling books. If you have a book cover that doesn't match your genre, you're not selling books. Like, this is something years ago when I was doing my podcast, we talked about, like, there were women writing transgressive fiction, which you would associate mostly, I think the most well-known author doing it is Chuck Palahniuk, who I mentioned before. And, Fight Club is not a fucking romantic comedy by any stretch of the imagination, but the women authors were getting these covers that looked like chick lit. And there's nothing wrong with chick lit if it's what you're into. I've had some fun reading some of that stuff myself. But if you're looking for transgressive fiction and you pick up something, you're not going to pick up something that looks like that. And if you're looking for this other subgenre and you pick that book and read, you're going to fucking hate it, right? And it's anything else you buy, like, you see the branding and you see what it looks like. You're like, oh, they're speaking to me. And then you get it and you're like, what the hell is this? So it is really important that, like, your beer label, your book cover, your logo for your clothing company, whatever it may be, like, actually speaks to the right people. Because if you're looking for a story about like a J-Lo rom-com and you get something that reads like Chuck Palahniuk, you are going to be upset.
Yeah, you are. You're going to be surprised at the very least.
I used to love punk IPA. Every time I go back to Britain, my husband's British, so every time I go back to England, I seek out my punk IPA. And then I found out, like, all these problems with the company that were, like, super.
Brewdog, yes.
Yeah.
It's problematic.
It's like.
Yeah. Right. But the best thing about it, though, is that, currently there's still 7,000 other breweries, at least in America. So you could probably find your replacement for that.
My favorite IPA is, and speaking of amazing labels, is Flying Dog Brewery's Raging Bitch.
Oh.
All their labels are done by Ralph Steadman. I'm not actually the world's biggest Hunter Thompson fan, but I do love Ralph Steadman. And, I'm a human being, so I do like some Hunter S. Thompson. And all the labels are fucking amazing. But I bought Raging Bitch because I was like, that's funny. And I actually
developed an IPA.
Yeah, and I joked, like, oh, it's a beer named after me, right? It was really good. So, like, really with the label and the name on a type of beer that I'm not the most massive fan of, and then I became, like, a true convert to Flying Dog's Raging Bitch. Because back in the day, Flying Dog used to be based out of Maryland, and I was living in Maryland at the time, so I felt a little bit like, yeah.
So... Yep. So that was Josh. That was our friend Josh. Doug.
Yeah, I know. I saw his
right here. Yep. And then also
the guy you should learn about, because that guy.
Yeah. Whoa. Those two. Wow. Yeah. Artistic, creative, and
he does these pairings for beer, and not everybody pairs beer with food. He pairs beer with movies, music, colors, art. He does all these abstract, he calls them abstract pairings, and they are. And you're just like, holy shit, how do you even think to do, like, literally we had a show with him this week, and afterwards we were like, what was that? That was awesome. I don't know what that was. It was awesome. He just thinks on some level that's like Is he alien? Because that just is not something most people I know would ever think of. And
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
I love it. No, I'm gonna have to like go seek him out on Facebook and like see if he wants to be my friend, because I really love like I know like Greg, you don't really know me. Doug's known me for a long time. I love an aesthetic approach to life, right? Like I don't want to
Back.
I don't want anything that doesn't look cool. Like I take like if I get a new phone, it takes like 2 months to pick because I have to like I'm gonna look at it every fucking day. It has to be cool. Like, and it's the same thing. Like if I watch my favorite movie, and there's a lot of movies I've seen 100 times or 1,000 times even. What could make it better? Well, if you've got the perfect, and Josh, please contact me. If you've got the perfect,
Zach.
I'm sorry.
Zack Rosen.
Oh, Zach. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry. I totally misheard.
No worries.
If you get the perfect beer to like watch Reservoir Dogs or From Dusk Till Dawn with, like I've seen those movies a million times. They're new to me every time for different reasons, but it'd be really fucking cool to know the perfect beer to drink. And like if someone else out there knows like the perfect food to eat or the right fucking donut, like I'm here. Like I want to make everything the coolest and most awesome experience it could be. Like, isn't that what we're trying to do with life? Like,
Yes,
yeah, Zach did it. So when we had him on the show, he was talking about he did a pairing for what was the movie? It's the dude and all that, and my brain is
Lebowski.
World of War. Was it World?
No, it was a Big Lebowski, and he did one where he did. We talked about doing the White Russian, and I was like, "Well, how do you do that?" And he goes, "So I take a Russian Imperial Stout and a white ale."
Oh,
and I was like, "Fuck, that's so simple, but it makes so much sense." So he says, he makes the black and tan out of that, and he said he takes a Allagash white, and then he pours the Russian Imperial Stout really slow along it. And it makes it a black and tan out of a Russian Imperial. And I was like, that's genius. And I would never think to do that.
Black and tans, but is married to someone who is half English and Irish. I have to tell you, that is considered very offensive. So if you're ever in England or Ireland, you order a black and tan, you are getting your ass thrown out. It's super. Same with Irish car bombs. I don't think I have to explain the Irish car bomb one, but the black and tan uniforms of the English soldiers who were fucking up Ireland. So, FYI.
One last comment from Zach here.
Make sure Sorry, my son was wanting to launch the video games, and I had to give him the remote.
So, Josh is. I'm sorry. Zach is I thought for the Josh thing too. Zach is Southern California too. So we don't get stuck on Zach, but you can check him out. I'll send you the link of when Doug and I talked to him and see it. And then if you want, I can make sure that connection happens.
Yeah,
but you guys are both very creative people, and it would be fun to see what happens if that energy got together. It'd be
I want to comment on what he said about Joshua Tree being one of the most beautiful desert landscapes that you can experience. When I moved here from Baltimore. Biggest culture shock of my life. I grew up in the Central Valley, which was all farmland, Central Valley of California. And then I moved. I lived in the South for a little while. I lived in Baltimore, D.C., and then I came here, and I was just it took me a few years to get used to it, but then once I left, I couldn't wait to come back because it's like being on Mars. It's like what you think a sci-fi movie looks like, and it's like that every day. I just remember we bought the house we're currently in, and we came to do like our final walkthrough or whatever when we're leaving, and we look up the road you have to turn to get to our house, and it's like the most epic sunset you've ever seen, and you're like, oh, it's gonna look like that every night.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this sci-fi movie every night, and every single Joshua tree that's big enough to actually see is thousands of years old. Like it is this amazing ancient energy and beauty that you don't get that in the suburbs. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. I want to come out now.
Yeah, well, I said I got guest rooms.
All right.
I'm in Airbnbs here, but I'm not for that in the time of coronavirus. So I'll let you know when the guest rooms are open.
and you like, so Doug knows, like, when I hear people, especially friends or friend adjacent, as I would call you, you're a friend of my friend, so you're a friend, but I don't know you that well. But when people say like things like, I don't like all IPAs, I don't like stouts, I don't like clear beers, it's like a challenge for me. So like, so what I want to do is, I just want to, when I hear people say that, I always go to, well, they haven't had enough of them, whether it's true or not, because I don't really know if you've had enough clear beers or not. So it doesn't really matter ultimately. Well, it doesn't really matter ultimately, because it's just a reason for us to get together and drink beer. So
And the rabbits that live here, and I've got blue jays that will land in your hand to take peanuts. Because
all right,
Dave.
I've become super domesticated.
all right.
For you all shit, I'll take you. There's a rock in our national park. It looks like a giant skull. We'll do it all, and then you bring me your best clear beers. But I stand by no hazy Gatorade.
No worries.
That we're okay with. Hey, you know what, Greg? We haven't really talked about our sponsor yet, have we?
Oh.
Now it's time for our sponsor.
It's me. So I've got a lot of things going on, and so one, the Lockdown Anthology, being published by Polis Books, is coming out June 16th. It's available for pre-order now, and it is a charity anthology that is going to support BINK, which I fucked up and forgot what it stands for, but it supports your independent bookstores during this time where independent bookstores are not able to do the kind of business they usually do because they depend on events and people coming in person. And I really hope that you go and buy this book and read. Some of the authors in here are so far out of my league. It amazes me that I got to be a part of it. I wrote a story called Desert Shit, which is a saying that's really common around here about people doing really fucking insane shit. But in this story, it's a mix of a crime story and the shared universe that Lockdown shares, which is a pandemic that is not exactly like coronavirus, but a little bit more like The Stand. And it's a beautiful queer love story that is super criminal and super scary. So I hope you'll check it out. There's stories by Rob Hart, Gabino Iglesias, Terry Lynn Coop, and a lot of other amazing authors. So definitely check that out. And you get to help independent bookstores stay alive at a time that's really hard. My story, called The Way You Dance, from the Murder of Go-Go's anthology that benefits Planned Parenthood, which I'm also super passionate about, is eligible for an Anthony Award this year, as is the anthology itself. And that story will be probably by tomorrow available for your consideration on my website, reneeasherpickup.com. So I hope you'll check it out and think about if you're eligible to nominate anything for an anthology. Think about the anthology itself and the story. I have to say something super awesome about my husband for making sure that you could actually see me on this, because before I was backlit by a window with desert sun beating through it, and you couldn't see me.
Awesome.
Man, you mentioned some people like Gambino Iglesias. I love reading his Twitter stuff.
Yeah.
He's a badass on Twitter. And Rob Hart, he and his Henry Cavill hair and awesome book. That Warehouse book, I love that book. And I was, I had read a few of his stories, but the Warehouse really kind of blew me away because it's almost weirdly prescient, especially with everything going on and how much Amazon makes. It's really fucked up.
I'm never giving it up. I have actually had the pleasure of knowing Rob for a really long time. We worked together at Lit Reactor, where he runs the education department and I work for it. And I've been a fan of his since he was writing his Ash McKenna stories, starting with New York, and it's this great series that goes through several different cities in the U.S. with the same protagonist. And the most amazing thing about it is a lot of series keep their protagonists very stagnant. So if he's a shitty alcoholic detective with a bad history, then that's who he always is. but Ash actually starts out as a really fractured and injured young man who's getting over the death of a woman he really loved, and he gets to grow and change the series, which is super amazing. And each book has a slightly different approach to storytelling. So one is a very straightforward mystery, and one is the Woman from Prague, which is the last one, is like a thriller. And like, so if you like Rob Hart now, do yourself a favor and go check out the stuff he wrote before. And then he also has this really amazing zombie novella called The Last Safe Place, which is a zombie novella that takes place on Staten Island, which, you know, it brought up a lot of stuff about zombies that I had never thought of as the longtime horror fan. So it's actually, you know, you bring something new to something as old as zombies, you've got a gift.
That's for sure.
Awesome. So one of the problems I've learned with having conversations with people who are very diverse, and what I mean by diverse, I mean people who have their hands in many different things or have their hands in many different things. It's kind of hard for, I kind of like especially when Doug's not around, it's just me. So I kind of try to keep it in a way where I can like structure it. But with all due respect, my friend, you are all over the place. So it's kind of hard to, no, it's great. It's great. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. But it's usually I can go through like a timeline and be like, it's all nice, but like, man, we got to jump around with these. So I'm going to completely take it way off of the author thing. And I just want to, kind of the same question I asked you about being an author. It's just not a thing that you naturally think of, that a woman's going to want to be in the Marine Corps and want to go through that. And not that women don't want to go through that, but, you know, Marine Corps screams, you know, big muscle guy, you know what I mean? It just, and those are just stereotypes actually. So again, you know, you busting through those obviously, but, where did that come from? And when did you realize that would be something that you would want to do in your life?
That's actually kind of a complicated question, but the shortest way to the answer is, you know, I was very much tomboy growing up. For the first maybe 10 to 12 years of my life, I was very close to my dad, who was very outdoorsy, and he liked to go hunting and he liked to go shooting. My grandfather, who passed away when I was only 2 years old, was a Marine himself. He was drafted in World War II. And actually, he was drafted in the Navy, but he was really fucking tall and very broad. And they were like, "You're going to be a Marine." So history, and there's a lot of whatever. And I was in my first year of college, which was not going well. I was at a private university, which was very expensive. And I kind of saw the writing on the wall as far as keeping my student aid going.
Yeah, I feel that. Happened to me. Feel it.
I felt a drive, you know, I'm a 9/11 kid like that. I watched that happen in my period 1A class as a senior in high school. I'm super leftist. I am now super leftist, but there's something really, you know, profound about that. If you were of an age to understand it when it happened, it's crazy. There are adults out there right now that we're not, but there are. And I felt a drive to do something. And to me, there was really no question that like the Marines are supposed to be the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
The Marines are supposed to be the toughest. And I wanted the fucking challenge. And, you know,
okay. That's great.
A little bit of that, like I'm sure this is present in other branches where, you know, the brotherhood and the camaraderie and like the sense of belonging, but coming from the background of underground music and really being like my community is my family. That wasn't something I was getting in college because I was not joining a sorority. The Marine Corps kind of broadcast that in a bigger way, and it felt like it had a connection to my family, and I'm fucking stubborn and I wanted to do the hardest thing. So I did that. And, you know, I don't know, I'm glad I did it, but being a woman in the Marine Corps is harder than being a woman in a lot of other places because there's so few of us in comparison. And, you know, I've been through some shit as a result of being a woman in the Marine Corps. And that is kind of, what's funny is you think of people who join the military as being very conservative, but I was very liberal when I went in, and I think it kind of radicalized me going through that experience. So, you're my.
Yeah, Doug, let me get a quick comment, and then
I went after you. So
yeah, no worries. I definitely Doug and I already talked about it. We actually all talked about it, that we want to have you back on to really dig into what you just mentioned as far as it being hard being a woman in the Marine Corps. And again, we talked to you about it, and basically, I don't know. I think it's too much of a subject for us to even handle here, but I think it'd be very good if we could have you back and talk about that. But I just wanted to acknowledge that you said that, and I wanted to at least communicate that I'm really interested in hearing more about that. But I understand that today's probably not the best time. So there you go, Doug.
yeah. So what I find interesting is that you talked about your background in like underground music, which is, from the time that you're mentioning, seems to be a lot of very anti-establishment ways. And then you went very establishment and went into the Marines. How did you, was it just a challenge of like the Marines are the hardest, so fuck it, I'm going after it and fuck them? Or is it more like, all right, this is the path I need to follow? Like, I'm curious how your mind arrived at that decision.
So it's a little bit complicated, right? Because I was right, and don't make sense. I'm not going to pretend like I knew what I was fucking doing. Yeah. It's fucking the hardest thing to do, and I want to do it. But also, there was a little bit of, I had a really good friend who I'm still friends with now. At the time, we're kind of talking about like the things that were going on in with Saddam Hussein and shit like that, and we didn't know everything we know now. So like, forgive me for anything I'm about to say about what I was thinking at that time in 2002 when I was 18 years old, please. Where it seemed like, like regardless of what the fuck is going on, like that guy is a shithead, and like, why are we allowing this to happen? And so there was so many different things playing into that decision. But also, I think that the reality of me as a human being is that I'm a very contradictory person. I don't know, like I'm not the hugest Kubrick fan, but I love Full Metal Jacket, and I loved it before I was a Marine because the whole duality of man thing, right? Like I'm very dualist. I recognize that juxtaposition is like a whole part of the human experience. I was 18 campaigning for the fucking Green Party and also joining the Marine Corps. But I was 14 and converting to the LDS church while also getting into the punk rock underground. And that's kind of who I've been my whole life. And while I might leave certain things behind or evolve my opinions on them, they're all very much a part of who I was and how I've learned about myself and how I've become who I am. So like, while a lot of people think it's really fucking weird to get into punk rock and be a Mormon at the same time, thank God for Ian McKay and Straight Edge, because I would have been really fucking confused otherwise. It's kind of the same thing. Like I could be like, yeah, fucking Ralph Nader, and then fucking join the Marine Corps a few months later, because I think that, there's a drive currently, and maybe always, but I'm an adult now, so I can only comment on now, to firmly place yourself in one place and have one opinion where you base your identity around. But that's always been very hard for me. And I think that kind of explains why I was a crazy fucking leftist that joined the Marine Corps more than anything.
Man, I love it. I think we've all had those sort of things where it's like, all right, maybe maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to challenge myself. That's the end of it. So yeah.
I'm super proud of meeting that challenge, and I'm super proud of making the rank of non-commissioned officer and all of that. But there's all sorts of weird shit and baggage that comes along with it. But
we're super proud of you. Thank you for your service.
For sure.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I had no beer yet, so I'll cheer you with some water.
I'm getting through this bottle.
Man, you're down there though.
Yeah. So
I'm going to go with third because this is one I found.
Oh, you found that just wandering around in the pandemic?
So this is a heady topper, which is pretty well known. Well, it's listed as an ale, but it's a pale ale. This is from Vermont. It's from the Alchemist, which makes some pretty nifty fucking labels.
Nice.
So they say to drink this from the can. I ain't drinking it from the can because I want to see it in a glass. I have had this twice ever in my life, and I haven't had it in probably 5 or 6 years. But a place near me it's an interesting place called Craft out of Binghamton, and they do craft beer and craft ice cream.
Doug, this is my face for drink it out of a can.
But that's what they say right here. It says, "Go to drink it out of the
can." I don't care.
So,
I don't drink beer out of a can unless I forced almost by gunpoint. Look at that. If I drink it out of a can, I can't see that beautifulness.
But also look at if the big beautiful bottle my beer came in, I would feel so crazy drinking out of a wine glass or wine bottle size beer bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drinking out of a stein that holds almost the entire.
Look at that. Yes. And you get a couple different beers too there, Renee, because you get it when it's really cold and then you get it as it warms up.
Yes. Because it is a different beer now than it was when we started. And I'm loving all of it. So.
Yep. What's up, Doug?
So this is interesting because I remember it being a bit less hoppy and more sweet but not that it's overly hoppy. I just remember it being less hoppy. And I am generally not a hop head. So, but what's great about it is it finishes so crisp that all that hoppy flavor doesn't stay on your palate, which for me is a problem because when the hoppiness stays on my palate, I'm just I'm done.
I like to taste it for a second, and then I want the beer to keep going and introducing me to more flavors.
For sure.
You guys are talking about beer and ice cream?
Fuck yeah, man.
They do some, I don't know that they do beer floats, but they make these fucking sundaes that are they make banana pudding sundaes and just all this crazy shit that's awesome. And then they have 20 taps of just mostly New York State craft breweries. And they have tapas sliders and all that stuff. So it's a really interesting way to go.
This is not the world's most craft beer. And it's one of the beers I keep going back to, even though it's, InBev and all that bullshit. Blue Moon with a little bit of vanilla ice cream is a fucking amazing beer float. Young's Double Chocolate Stout with a little bit of vanilla ice cream is an amazing beer float. Those are the ones I've ever had, but it's worth it, man. Definitely do it if you can. Also, maybe Blue Moon with an orange sherbet.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, we have a friend named Afro Beer Chick who is awesome about pairing beers with ice cream and food. She just we were drinking something, and she was on our show, and she's the one who's anti-porter, but we're convincing her.
2 weeks we'll deal with that. 2 weeks we're dealing with that.
Yeah, we will. So you should definitely tune into her, Renee, because she's fucking awesome, and she just holds no shit back, gives zero fucks. She just I'm drinking this and fuck y'all, and just but she would be I don't really care for this, but if I put it in with some pretzels and some chocolate and vanilla, and I'm I would never think to do that. So yeah.
I just made right before this, I was man, today fucking sucks, and I want to watch and have a drink because I need some low stakes shit in my life that's still interesting and some fucking booze. And he made bourbon and ginger ale, which is one of my favorites. And he was because he's not a whiskey. So he was commenting on, it depends on the whiskey and this, that, and that. I said, here's the secret that nobody ever wants to acknowledge. That that squirt of lemon and lime works, but not as well. In a bourbon cocktail, pumps the vanilla up so high it becomes dessert. And so I'm always in favor of a beer float or like whiskey bourbon syrup on a Sunday or whatever. Like people really have not explored if you're gonna get all those calories anyway, put some fucking cake in it. Put some ice cream in it.
Ah, yes. Well, I would say not cake, but pie. But I don't know how he put beer in pie, but I'll figure that out.
But a bourbon caramel syrup on an apple pie, right?
Or like a bourbon pecan pie.
Ooh, that's it. That's the one.
I don't even like pecans, and I'd be like, I'm eating that fucking thing.
I'm not a pecan person, but I love pecan pie. I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. Anyway.
Like pecan pie. I try to view that as it's a flaw in him as a person, but more
right. Doug has those flaws too. He doesn't like avocados, so we'll get over that.
I'll send all my avocados to both of you. You can have all of them.
Great. As long as they're ripe, I'm down. So then
that is if my oldest and Jill doesn't want all of them because they love avocados. So
next time I'm with you, we're gonna do yeah. So this is one of my favorite times of the show. Is the thing that I don't want to think about. And was it last week that we had somebody go off on this?
Oh, yes, we did. We had somebody who does a podcast with their partner, and on their podcast, they never talk politics.
Oh.
And he went off. Things that we were like,
just to go hard on politics.
His podcast partner's eyes were like this big. Oh, shit.
It was fun.
Let him go.
I
enjoyed it because we generally avoid politics.
That was awesome.
I'm actually going to avoid politics on this, but I think some people will think it's politics, but fuck you if you do. There you go. Isn't that how it's beautiful how I framed before I even talked. I'm going to start some shit. The thing I don't want to think about is, and I don't know, this isn't new to today, but it's really, really current affairs, is I don't want to think about when my 2 half black boys leave my house and are out in the world. And I can't protect them. They're homeschooled. It's not a pandemic, so I can't say you can't go out there. And I got a good reason. Like when they're out in the streets and it's dark, next, Doug, that's what I got. And
hey,
on Twitter, you can just move on. It's cool.
I don't have much to say in that other than that. I want to be able to stick up for you, your kids, like everybody who is a person of color. And here's the thing: it's like, and we've talked about this a lot. Like, as someone who's just got all the privilege in the world, I'm a white guy. It's super easy for me. But like being able to voice my opinion to try to help is the most I can really do, and that feels super weak. Like I feel like I'm not helping enough, and yeah, I don't know. Renee, what do you have to say about that? If you have anything,
I don't know what to say about it. But kind of short. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, can I jump in here just real quick to comment on what Doug says, and then Renee, I'll let you roll. Doug, I will tell you as a black man in this country, and I've been posting a whole bunch about this. Anything that white people do to combat white racism is a win, and even this much helps, because crazy white people, with all due respect, don't want to listen to me. Mm-hmm. They're never going to listen to me. They probably not even going to listen to you, but there's more of a chance. So anything you do, buddy, is helping the cause. That's all I got. Miss Renee?
It doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying sometimes I feel like it's like falling on deaf ears.
No, and I'm here to tell you that every little bit helps. And you can't build a mountain without a couple little pebbles. So there's big boulders there we got to move, but there's also pebbles.
So I'm with Doug in that I try really hard to make sure that if I'm giving an opinion, if I'm spouting my mouth off, that it's helpful rather than hurtful. And you look, you know, I'm going to be super fucking controversial right now, and I hope y'all don't mind. But I look at what's going on today, right, and last night, and I think, how the fuck do you sit in your home and you look at that and you call that a riot? It's a fucking revolution. The police said we murdered another unarmed black man in the fucking street, no consequences. The people said, no, today there's fucking consequences. It drives me fucking crazy. I really, sometimes I find myself at odds about what I can do or what is helpful versus hurtful, because part of the problem in really caring about an issue that doesn't personally affect you, it affects me emotionally, but, I'm not worried about going out in public, right? Is, this is a message for any white people listening, okay? You better fucking pay attention, because I see a lot of my white friends posting pictures and videos of white violence on black people, and then I see a lot of my black friends saying why are you subjecting me to this? And just the hardest fucking thing about being a responsible citizen and being a responsible activist is balancing your desire to talk about things and maybe, if we're being honest, be the center of attention, with whether or not what you are doing is helping the people you think you're helping. I'm not saying it's fucking easy. It's super fucking hard. And I think, depending on who you are and where your intersection is, different issues require different introspection and different action. It fucking drives me crazy. I've always, even in the military, when, my thing was I'm going to wiggle my left toe in my boot to make sure that I'm still being a fucking contrarian in boot camp. This has never changed. And I think it's hard and it's difficult, but you need to rise to the fucking occasion. And, to what you were saying, Greg, if you're not willing to use your privilege as a white person to amplify the voices of the people that are being hit the hardest, if you're not willing as a white person to say, you know what, it's not a fucking riot, it's a revolution, get over your fucking self, Target is not going to fucking be harmed, shut up. Nobody needs your opinion. Whoops. Sorry, what?
Ramen.
Man, so here's the time. Do you guys? We don't have to dwell on mine. If you guys have a thing that you don't want to think about, now's the time to, as they say in Seinfeld world, air your grievances.
All right, I'm going to go really quick, Renee, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about cutting my fucking stupid balding head anymore. I just want to let it be super shaggy and dumb.
Okay.
That was great after my serious one. That was good. Renee, you have anything, or you good? Or
I don't want to think about what coronavirus does to kids, because I got a fucking kid. And, I want to put her in the summer program with the Boys and Girls Club, so I'm going to have some fucking time to myself. I want to go places and do things. My county is open, even though we're a hotspot and a tourist destination. I don't want to think about any of that shit, but I'm thinking about it all the time. So I would really appreciate a little fucking break.
Cheers. Yeah. Oh, I can so cheers that. How old is your child?
She is 10, but she has a 13-year-old, so that's fun.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
I said she's 10, but she acts like a 13-year-old, so that's
10 going on 13. Okay, I feel that.
She's a big artist, and she's a really smart kid. She got some attitude, though. I don't know where she got it.
I was going to say, I'm not sure where that came from. I like to say spunky, to be honest with you, but that's me.
Yeah, she's spunky.
Now, Doug has the probably most serious question.
I have a very, very serious question.
You ready?
Are you ready?
Are you sitting down?
I'm girded.
I think she's sitting down. I think we're okay on that part. So the question is, and this is a very serious one.
Yes.
Are you pro Top Sheet or anti Top Sheet?
I'm anti Top Sheet.
Why?
I have a lovely blanket that is sweater knit on top and fuzzy on the bottom, and I want to feel it.
So you have like a specialized comforter.
Well, it's my middle blanket. So in the winter, there's a comforter and that blanket.
You have a comforter and a blanket, but not a top sheet.
Right. And
You
then
know what I mean by a top sheet? Like you get your sheets and your fitted sheet and your.
So it is a top sheet.
Doesn't belong on the bed. Next.
who has it? Even though I sit at the bottom of the bed every night and cuddle up in my fuzzy blanket.
It is a top sheet. It is. You're wrong, though.
Oh, it's the top blanket. There's a difference.
No.
You cannot claim that, Greg. You cannot claim that. I am saying that's bullshit.
I'm fine with utility being the definition. I use a blanket between me and the comforter in the winter. But in the summer, I do not because it gets 120 fucking degrees out here. Why would I put a comforter on me and raise my electricity bill?
You use a top sheet. Correct. I'm right. It's cool.
I use a fuzzy blanket.
Well, it's not a sheet, fucker.
I own a top sheet.
Yeah, this is why you're not booking any more guests.
Now, Greg, do you?
Okay. Don't listen to him. He's a heathen.
Did you have someone in your home make your bed every day?
No. Why?
Exactly. It's bullshit.
Right.
So she stays bunched up at the bottom of the bed, and my fuzzy blanket stays on me.
So,
See?
What? Well, I didn't hear that.
You have to repeat that, Renee, to give him a little clarity.
Yes, repeat it so I can.
No, we don't make the bed every day. I don't make the bed every day either. But I have a top sheet for show when I make the bed. I put it on and fold it over. But when I sleep in the bed, the top sheet goes to the bottom and the fuzzy blanket goes on me.
Okay. So at least Renee uses the fucking top sheet. Doug takes his.
No, she doesn't.
Doug and Joe take theirs and probably play like Casper the Friendly Ghost or some bullshit. Like they don't use the top sheet.
Give me
Like, at least you use it, Renee. At least you use it. Like Doug and Joe buy they'll buy like a whole bed sheet thing and then throw out the top sheet like
we do not. You know what we do with those? Those are our painting cloths. So when we paint, we use them so we don't get paint on the floor.
Okay, but Doug, remember earlier in the show when I said I like living an aesthetic lifestyle?
Uh-huh.
I don't make my bed every day because I'm not that committed to the aesthetic lifestyle. But when I do, I put the top sheet on upside down. So when I fold it over, you see the pattern of the top sheet and it looks pretty.
Okay, but you're doing that for aesthetics. You're not doing that to use that as a top sheet.
You're wrong, though. She uses the top sheet.
I don't paint on it.
Yeah, but I don't put it on my bed after I use it. I'd never put it on my bed at all.
Between the two.
And that's wrong.
There's a middle ground between the two of you.
No. No.
Renee is a both sides person.
Right. Renee, there is no both sides on this one. No.
There is, and I think that I'm middle ground.
No, right.
It is beautiful.
Now,
you put it on upside down, so when you fold it over your comforter, it looks pretty.
Okay, if you call it pretty, hit one. You just still don't use it.
Beautiful blanket.
I love there are good people on both sides.
So here's the thing. All right, so here's where there's a litmus test, though, Renee. There is a litmus test. And I will go back to the fact that Greg and I, we were at Dad 2.0 in DC this year. We had a giant conversation about top sheets. It was a mess. But pretty much there was a few people who were outliers, and I was not one of them, who said when you go to a hotel, you absolutely use a top sheet.
Okay, let me tell you, but there's a fucking difference, and this is why. They wash the sheets at the hotel more than they wash the comforter, and if you believe that that is not true, have fun lying to yourself. There is on your fucking comforter, and if you believe otherwise, good luck.
That is the only place I use a top sheet is in a hotel.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. So I
Are
said,
you proud of yourself?
they reopened tourism to Joshua.
Very, Greg. How about that?
$100 a year. They did not reopen hotels, but they did reopen Airbnbs. And here's the thing I want you to think about when it comes to Airbnbs. You as an Airbnb host have a choice. Do you collect the cleaning fee and use it to hire a professional cleaner to clean your Airbnb? Or do you collect the cleaning fee and you as a person who has no professional cleaning experience cleans your Airbnb? Have fun with your coronavirus semen all over your body.
Oh,
Airbnb and Joshua Tree for have fun. Or, and here's an idea, you stay the fuck home.
That's why I love you, Renee. You're the fucking best.
I'm sorry to upset you so much, Greg, right at the end of this
Big
thing.
condom.
Expecting that, but also I am right. And it took me that much beer to get.
I'm completely horrified. Thank you.
So now Greg's never going to visit us again because we don't have top sheets.
Look.
No, but I don't have to worry. I don't think I have to worry about.
Guess what? Guess what? I'm putting 5 top sheets on your fucking bed, so you don't have to worry.
Nothing but top sheets.
I'll take every top sheet I have and put it on your fucking bed.
Listen,
no, it's your sperm, so I should be fine, right?
For sure.
This is going a place. I blame Renee. It's her fault. She's taking us to a place that we've never been, Doug.
Hey, Greg, to be fair.
Morristown, I don't know what you expected of me in the time of coronavirus.
No, you were fine. And guess what? As the famous song goes, we found love in a hopeless place, so it's fine.
Oh,
there are people finding love in some hopeless places in my town right now, but not in my house.
Don't sing it, or we're gonna owe royalties.
You're okay. For the record, as a writer and editor, I know you are allowed to say the title of the song, not allowed to quote the lyrics.
Okay.
There you go.
You go to Joshua Tree.
True.
Your own tent, not a top sheet.
Tony, I like you.
Tony's great. He's fucking great.
If you're staying in Airbnb, you're doing it wrong, Daddy.
Yeah. Man.
Sorry.
I knew the top sheet would go just off the rails, and that's how I was like, we got to ask Renee.
It went all, right. It went. So, nightstand or not?
Oh, nightstand. Where am I going to put my water or my wine?
So, okay. So, one nightstand, or do they have to be like matching on both sides?
Oh, are you asking Renee if she wants a one night stand? What the hell, Greg?
I've been saying through the whole show, I live in aesthetic.
I usually wait till post production for that shit.
Are you into one night stands? Oh, what way? Oh.
Right. That's what I propose everybody for a one night stand is in a post production. You just fucking ruin it, Doug.
Sorry.
In the words of the Golden Girls, let's heal quicker.
Oh, we had a Golden Girls reference. I mean,
Sophia's my bitch, and not just because my grandma used to look like Sophia. She used to look just like Sophia, but also Sophia's my girl. And the reality is sluts do heal quicker. So be a slut if you want to be a slut. You're gonna get over shit.
And I love to say time flies when you're having fun.
My God, yeah.
Again, this is the problem with having a diverse guest, Doug, is that like we never get to like everything that we want to talk about. I still got
more we need to talk about, but yeah.
I still got 4 questions for her, so we got to bring her back.
I would be thrilled to come back, and I'll bring a smaller beer so I stay more coherent.
Why?
Why?
Bigger beer.
Let loose. This is fucking great.
Renee, today was Big Beer Day. This is a day to bring that big ass beer and just.
You guys had 2.
I mean,
I had 3.
How much more is 2020 going to throw at us? So we're just not going to be like, look,
who cares?
We're going to drink.
We got Murder Hornets. We got a fucking revolution happening in Minneapolis.
We got an idiot president. We got a virus going crazy. We got asshole cops. We got, I mean, people. I have CNN over here, and every time I look, I just see another like protest or another like crazy thing.
Yeah, there's stuff going on in Atlanta tonight and everything. So yeah.
Which leads me to, before we go, I didn't get to my whole theme here, which was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and how much of a wonderful man he was, and how the world needs more Fred Rogers in our life at the moment. And yes, I'm going to fucking preach because I don't care. There are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is to be kind. The second way is to be kind. And what's the third way, everybody?
To be kind.
People, please, come on. Everybody's going through. At this point, everybody's drugging. Everybody. There's not one person in the world, in my opinion, not affected by the coronavirus. As Americans, we're affected by fucking stupid America. So that's enough to drink. Remember, what was that song that Green Day made 10 years ago that aged fucking beautiful? It's called American Idiot, and it's a fantastic song, and it aged beautifully. And I don't, again, if you want to say this is politics or not, and again, if you don't like it, you can click off. I don't give a shit. I am tired of the unkindness and the, like, we're all human. What the fuck? So
can I add to that if you don't mind?
Yes, please.
So there's a common feminist saying that the personal is the political, and I think we've seen that become absolutely magnified recently, where there's absolutely nothing that cannot be politicized. And I'm so fucking tired of talking about personal human rights where people are living and dying, being given medical care, being refused, like shit that is life and fucking death being called political. It's not, it is because we made it that way. It didn't have to be. It should not fucking matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. People have a right to live. People have a right to medical care. People have a right to live their beliefs as they see fit, so long and they don't try to push that shit on everybody else. And it is really that fucking simple, and we've gotten so far away from it. And yeah, the personal is political because nobody can just keep their opinions in their life. I'm not going to make anybody in your family have an abortion. You guys aren't going to make me do anything I don't want to do. Like, why isn't that fucking good enough?
Right. And another quote here is real strength has to do with helping others. And it couldn't be a better time to reach out and help people. And I'm not this like, I feel like I'm this, happy kumbaya guy. That's not really me, honestly. I mean, I want positive things in the world, but I'm not this happy kumbaya. I'm actually very more cynical than anything. But at this point, I'm just trying to scream out that we need to be kind to each other. And Renee, you are the perfect guest this week for that. Cheers. No, true though. And so I'm glad to have you. Yeah.
I'm really glad to be here tonight, and thank you, Doug, for making it happen, and thank you, Craig, for being such a wonderful host, even though we never really got to interact much before this. I'm happy to come back whenever you want me. I had a great time, and I love that we were able to talk about some serious shit, and also have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is being able to kind of talk about things that are forefront on everybody's minds, but also being able to try to have a little bit of fun in the middle of it, because here's the thing, there's heavy shit every fucking where, and we're all dealing with it in our own ways, but we also need some sort of levity with it, and sometimes that's not all that easy. And I'm lucky that Greg invited me to be part of this, and I'm really thrilled that I was like, hey man, do you mind if we invite Renee? And he's like, yeah, sure. Great. And then when I started talking about who you are, he's like, oh my God, yeah. Like, he was just all in. And so this is this has been a foray into something that we normally don't talk about. Like it's always
We're gonna go deeper into it, Doug. We're going.
Yeah, and
We're gonna bring in. Especially on the Friday show, man. Like we need to diversify even more. So
yeah, and this is why I was like, we need to go a little bit outside of our box, but it really wasn't. It really wasn't outside of our box. This is all let's talking about stuff that happened to all of us.
So, yeah. Because
but it's weird that we have a punk, Marine Corps activist, author, kick-ass lady on our show. So that's a verse for us.
Well, I really appreciate being invited, and I really appreciate the way I've been treated, and I really appreciate the not making fun of me for being a super lightweight, because I am.
You're not lightweight. You drank a freaking huge barrel-aged beer. You're drinking IPAs and shit. You're drinking like this giant bottle of stuff.
But I've had so much fun. I really love that you guys come here and have some fun and talk about some serious stuff and be goofy and promote some shit that matters to me. So I really appreciate it. And if you ever want me back, I am so down to come back.
I'd say post-pandemic for sure.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Yeah,
that might not be till next year at this point. So.
Well, what I'm hearing from Greg is that the next time I'm on the show, he's going to be sitting next to me in my office while we drink clear beer, right?
and Greg drives any fucking where. Let me tell you, he drove from Madison, Wisconsin to Bingham to New York to my house. And then I drove down to DC, and that was great. And I'm going to tell you, the funny thing is Greg came to my house, despite the Top Sheet fiasco. We'll leave that. But we got in a car, and we drove to DC, which is almost a 6-hour drive. Mm-hmm. We had the radio on for more than, 30 minutes? Like, we just bullshitted the entire time. And
Doug talks a lot.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he does, but I love it.
It's all his fault. Right. Nobody believes that shit. Go on, Doug. Look, I just interrupted him right now. Go.
No, but I mean, it was just something where we didn't run out of shit to talk about. Like, so it just got to a point where we were getting close to DC. I'm like, hey, man, how about we put on some music? He's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I put on I had a hip hop Pandora channel from, it's fucking
next time, Greg. They had 2 albums and a couple singles. You can do their whole catalog in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I missed that opportunity.
I'll forgive you this time, Doug. But next time, I'm taking.
Next time, you can hold me to the fire for that. So.
Seriously, though, I don't know anybody who listens to Joy Division and doesn't have at least an ounce of appreciation. You might be like, that's not really my thing. You might be like, that's really sad. But if you listen to it, you're going to have like this much appreciation where you didn't have it before.
I'm putting them on my Spotify right now, actually.
Yeah, Greg's really diverse in his musical taste. Like, we heard a lot of funk in
a verse of their song tattooed on my arm because they were mediocre.
Oh, look, they're right here.
Yeah.
So
having a tattoo on this part of your arm, not pleasant.
So when I did this, I could read it left to right, and that's why.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but having it on the tender part of your arm like that.
And the tattoo artist who did it, he's really talented. He did this tattoo. See if I can get it in the camera. Of my.
Oh, he did it in your arm. Oh my God.
He has a super fucking heavy hand, so I suffered for this motherfucker. But it looks great, and when I look at it, I remember what I wanted.
It looks spaced and everything.
Yeah. So, Greg, let me recommend that you start from this song, "Isolation," and it is about his. Excuse me. It's about his intense struggles with mental health and the way that he's experienced his life. And again, he died when he was 22. So when you think about what you've gone through in your life, like, remember being 22 and how like small that was. But he managed to speak to me as a 35-year-old. The first 2 verses are about how hard it is, and the third verse, which I have tattooed on my arm, is about how experiencing life that way actually allows you to see the true beauty in the world and the true beauty in the experience of life. Yeah, there you go. So if you think about like even Thich Nhat Hanh and other
wow, look at this though.
Yeah.
Hold on, Renee. Hold on 1 second though. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. 3 million monthly listeners. That's a lot.
Yeah. And you have to remember almost every single one of those people came to this band after this band didn't exist anymore. Because he died at 22 years old before they ever came to the US.
Amen. Doug knows I'm gonna listen to this shit this weekend. He already knows.
Love Tear Apart is their most famous song. Isolation is the one I got tattooed on my arm. She's Lost Control is fucking amazing.
Hold on. Okay, so which one? Isolation.
Look, I'm pointing at the screen like anybody can see me. Amazing song. She Lost Control, and then Isolation is the one I got tattooed here. And then I'm just going to tell you, if you want to hear the coolest fucking guitar riff you've ever heard, it's Inner Zone.
Okay, so that's kind of okay.
But
I don't know. Whatever.
Like
you piqued my interest. So the next time you're on, we're going to talk Joy Division. We're going to talk advocacy and the Marine Corps. We still got to talk more about her writings too, Doug. We got a little bit of it, but we didn't get.
Yeah, good, man. I'm so in. I had so much fun.
Cool. All right, Doug. You gonna send us out here? You got this?
Yeah. So, Renee, seriously, thanks for being on. I was so stoked when you agreed, and when I told Greg that, can we have her on? And he's just like, yeah. I knew this would be great. I really did. And I'm super happy you're on. And, we'll do this again for sure because we have so much more to dig into, don't we?
I think so, yeah.
Whoa.
And then you booted me off, you fucker.
Right. I didn't even mean to that time. This time I did, though. But anyway.
All right, Renee, listen, thank you again. And, we'll definitely be talking soon. And, yeah. For sure.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I had a great time.
Thanks for that.
Thank you, Greg.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, Doug. So you're good at booking guests. I think we should let you do it more.
I'm happy to do more of that. Renee, I adore her.
Before a couple of times anyway. It's not your first.
Yeah, but I adore her and I love her viewpoint on things. And I was just like, I knew that would be a good guest just because. Yeah. She's done her own podcast. We didn't get a lot into that, which I would have liked to do more, which we'll do next time. So yeah, I'm just super stoked she was able to get on for a bit. So
Renee needs to come on during our politics show and give us a
ready. Right. You've now seen her. She is not shy about opinion.
And I can see her now in post production, and she's like, "Thumbs up, I'm in." So we're gonna have her. We're gonna get her on
for sure. So let me just go over my beer, and unless
I can't wait for that politics show, man. That shit's gonna be bomb.
So much fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so all right. So the Troy division. I'm going to say there's no losers. This was really good for an IPA.
And it's like Joy Division. Now I get that reference. Yes.
I mean, I saw that. I was like, I have to get that because Renee's going to be on the show. Quite good. Yeah. And it actually is pretty equal to Heady Topper, which I wasn't expecting. So Heady Topper, like I said, it's a classic. And if you can get it, it's super good. I will say that the rare form Troy Division was pretty comparable, which is surprising. The last time I had this, I was just blown away about how good it was. Maybe this wasn't the greatest batch, but whatever, it was good. The very, 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 very slight winner was the coconut coffee porter I had. But that's because I'm a porter guy, so this is super good.
And that's why you're my guy. So anyway, I couldn't listen. I love Afro Beer Chick, but I couldn't have a co-host who doesn't like quarters. I just couldn't do it. Now we get again. I thought Beer Chicken and I would have a fantastic fucking podcast. It would be great, but I don't know if we could do the old.
I love that.
Yeah. Or I don't know. Maybe the friction would be good chemistry. Sticky McDougal is a good Scotch Pale Ale, as you already know. Ale Asylum when Ale Asylum wants to not make IPAs, they fucking make really great beers. They make good IPAs too, but generally they're in the IPA realm, and that's what they like to do. Vintage Brewing Scaredy Cat, fantastic Oatmeal Stout. It was black as night. It was sweet. It was beautiful. It was great. Maybe I'll get there tomorrow. Tomorrow in Madison, we have the Madison at noon has the old protest of what's been going on. I would be so much down for this if not for the COVID, so I'm not going to go. But I'm thinking a really good idea about maybe I want to drive around and see what's going on. Doug, it just sucks that it happened during COVID because I want to expose my kids to activism and what it looks like to go and protest and to see what's going on. But this is not the time for us. But maybe we can drive by and
take a look.
Maybe we can drive by and see. And because my 16-year-old man, he's very I wouldn't say he's political, but like every time politics is on, he's like jumping. Every time the news is on, he's like looking, he's asking me, he's asking questions. And you know, man, when kids ask questions, that's the time to answer. So I don't know. I'm interested in that, but the only reason I brought it up is because Vintage is downtown, and they're fantastic, and they do great curbside. They're open now. I want to say they're open now. They have a patio. They're listening to the guidelines. They're separating everybody. So if that's your thing and you feel you can go out and you want to go out, Vintage would be a great place to do it. My lovely friends at Giant Jones, they have decided. Actually, Doug, it's funny. Giant Jones is a block away from Vintage, and they decided not to open up during phase 1. But if you've ever been in Giant Jones, there's no social distancing there. In fact, the best part about Giant Jones is that it's like a small place. It's a small, intimate place where you can like talk to people and meet people. Like I've been there so many times where I literally sat down at the table with somebody else I didn't know, and then we just started talking and made friends. And Jessica's all around and hugging people and shaking hands. So it's just not going to work early on in this. And I'm glad that they see that and they realize that. And I'm also glad that they're selling enough beer to be able to get through this. So I'm done. It's funny. This is Doug's guest. So I said before, Doug, this is your guest. You need to, make sure you ask all your questions because you know her better than me. And now I'm here running my mouth like no one.
No, this is fine. Here's the thing: we're all trying to make sense of things. This has nothing to do with whether Renee's my guest. She's not. She's our guest. And you guys interacted, and
it's great.
It's awesome. How else do you describe her? She's fabulous. So.
Right. And we're gonna have it back on, and we should probably just go now because you see that little train? Where's this train right here?
Mm-hmm.
This train.
There it is.
Yeah, this train's gonna take me to the bathroom after I click end broadcast here.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Oh, this is great. Doug. I don't have any, we have 2 shows next week, and then we have the Friday show. Actually, here we can announce the Friday show before we get out of here. We can announce that Creed is going to be with us next Friday.
I love that man.
Yes,
good guy.
Yes, so it's back to Dad Vloggers. He's in the Indianapolis, so we'll be able to jump off there, talk about that too. I'm just gonna hit the end broadcast. Doug, you have a great weekend. It's supposed to be hot. Stay safe. Stay all that. Don't bust your ass in that. Well, again, bust your ass in that garden, but like don't.
We're almost done. We're almost done, dude. Almost.
Don't bust it though. I'm clicking end broadcast.
All right.
We will see you guys next week with Creed. It's gonna be fun.